In 1970, George Harrison released his debut single, My Sweet Lord.
My sweet Lord, my Lord.
This ode to his newfound faith in God reached number 1 on the Billboard singles chart, with it receiving more radio play than any former Beatles solo output at the time. However, George Harrison would later be sued for this song due to its similarities with the Chiffons' 1963 hit He's So Fine.
He's so fine. Do-lang, do-lang, do-lang. Wish you were mine. Do-lang, do-lang, do-lang.
On February 19th, 1981, according to Cosmic Magazine, it was declared that George Harrison would pay Klein's ABKCO $587,000 in return for complete ownership of Chiffons' song. However, George Harrison claims that he wasn't consciously aware of any similarity to He's So Fine, although former bandmate John Lennon doubts Harrison's claim, stating he knew what he was doing, adding, "He must have known, you know." My aim is to showcase the similarities both songs share by providing a piece of piano music which implements features from each song into one another to highlight just how similar they are. My Sweet Lord is in the key signature of E major with 121 BPM, whereas He's So Fine by the Chiffons is in the key signature of G major with a BPM of 124. With my piece, I tried to emulate mashup artists by combining elements of each song together. However, with my piece of music, I wanted to highlight their similarities to showcase why George Harrison was taken to court. When arranging, I decided to start with My Sweet Lord, as that's the song that copies ideas from He's So Fine. I decided to first have the melody in isolation, so the listener can get a strong sense of its melody. Next, I transposed the chords, including rhythm, from He's So Fine into My Sweet Lord's key of E major to highlight just how easily the rhythm fits the melody, suggesting Harrison stole it. I then included the backing vocals from He's So Fine to highlight how similar the melodic writing is and how easily they fit together, strengthening the idea that George Harrison stole. I then decided to do the same things but with He's So Fine melody to highlight how George Harrison's writing is very similar. I then took both melodies in isolation to highlight their similar intervals and rhythm. I then stacked them on top of each other in the key of G major, which helped strengthen the idea that their intervals and rhythmic choices are very similar. This is especially clear with the opening melody having almost identical rhythm and intervals, so I played these in isolation and on top of each other to highlight that George's writing clearly takes direct inspiration from He's So Fine. Straightforward or challenging? The biggest challenge for me was transposing. As the keys of E major and G major are quite remote, getting the chords and melodies in the right key was difficult for me, and I made many mistakes trying to do this. Additionally, implementing the backing vocals proved to have some challenges. Although it was melodically and harmonically straightforward due to the limited intervals and how easily they fit with the main melody, the only difficulty was deciding which system to put them in. I tried to implement them in the main melody, then in the chords, but this kept messing up the note values of the main melody and the chords, and it didn't stand out clearly as backing vocals. I decided to put them in the bass clef of the piano 1 part so they were clearly identifiable against the main melody. Additionally, it wouldn't mess up any of the main melody's rhythms or note values. Thanks for watching. I hope my piece showcased the many musical similarities between My Sweet Lord by George Harrison and He's So Fine by the Chiffons.